What's good, savages? Welcome to Between Two Savages, a brand new show available now on SVGTV. Subscribe now. What's Between Two Savages? Well, it's a conversational show where we discuss different perspective, life lessons, life experiences, and try to inspire others to chase their dreams and to follow their dream path. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, my brother, Gabriel Pinto.
What's up?
How's it going, Gabriel?
I'm good, man. I'm good. How about you, man? Happy to see you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Gabriel, man. It's been quite the last few weeks since we recorded the premiere episode of Between Two Savages. We had a great conversation last time, and I'm really glad that we're back at it and being consistent with this. How was the last few weeks for you? How was the holidays? How was the holiday season treating you recently?
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of a Grinch.
Yeah,
I'm not all like. I appreciate the fact that we can be together with family, but as far as like Christmas and the spending and doing all these events and trying to be at 10 different places at the same time,
right.
I'm not really a fan of it. So it was hard at first, but it's always worth it after all when you end up spending time with family. But it is what it is for me.
Yeah, it's a similar experience for me. I think we spend the majority of the rest of the year not being in that type of environment where we are surrounded by people. Like, let's just put it like that. Like, I think when we are forced into this tight schedule of family dinners, that's how it is for me. I welcome it because it's a disconnect and it's a change of pace for me. I get to surround myself with people that I necessarily don't see a lot during the year and spend time with family members and have discussions and just be around good energy around the holiday season. For me, that's what it is. But for some reason, which I really haven't been able to reason, is I always get anxious at this time of year. I don't know if it's just an expectation thing or if it's just something that's deep into my DNA or, whatever it is. I can't remember having every single Christmas that I had as a kid was a great Christmas from what I can remember. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. But for some reason, it brings forth a little bit of anxiety. I think it's some nervous energy, but I think it's also there's anxiety there of just disconnecting from my routine, I think. And then going into this 2 weeks of like not really knowing what's going on. There's no, I didn't work a lot. We were closed for quite a few days during the holidays. So just taking myself out of the routine during these 2 weeks is something that I think that it made me realize this year that I need to do more of. Like, that I took my family, we went away, we left the city for 5 days and we were out in nature and had no real responsibilities. We did nothing for like a solid 4 days except for relax and spend time together. And I quickly realized that I think I need more of that throughout the year. I think I live such a fast-paced life that I need a little bit more time sometimes to kind of disconnect, reassess, really have an introspective dialogue with myself and where I'm at in this moment and where I need to adjust moving forward. That's how I felt.
I get you because a lot of people get anxious during the holidays. There's a multitude of reasons. A lot of it might be also social pressure. Not saying that that's your case, but a lot of
Right,
people
right.
it's like, the gifts and the sometimes even reunion with family might give you anxiety because we don't see each other as often as we should. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it can create a lot of stress for a lot of people. But I'm happy that you mentioned the fact that you realize that you need more time to disconnect and that you enjoyed those days that you had with your family because we live in such a fast-paced world, especially here in North America, right? And we do not know when to hit the brakes. And not only do we not know, but I feel like hitting the brakes or taking a break or a pause is not perceived well in our society. It's like, oh,
Right.
well, you're not grinding, you're not hustling, you're taking a day off, and you're lazy. But
You're
whoa,
meant to be felt. You feel guilty sometimes for taking some
yes,
time off.
oof, exactly. You feel guilty for taking some time off, and you also feel guilty sometimes for not even doing anything. Like the amount of time I feel guilty because I just decided to lay down for an entire day after
Hmm.
working nonstop for 2 months.
Hmm.
You know, the guilt is killing you. And I think it has a lot to do with the way our society is built. It's like we have to grind, we have to hustle, and if you're taking a day off, you're lazy,
Right.
and you're behind everybody now. You're one day behind, and that's not how it works. And you have to be above everybody else, and it's an interesting thing.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think there's a sense of guilt sometimes. I know for myself, as someone that puts myself out there on social media and try to be as transparent as possible on who I am and my true feelings, I am a very disciplined, very stick to a routine, try to do a very, I wouldn't say boring, but for lack of better words, say it's very boring, repetitive week after week. That's how I live my life. That's how I'm happy. It keeps me from, I try to keep things as simple as possible and just do the things that are required for me, needed for me, for myself, for my kids, for my family, wife, everybody involved. And also all the extracurricular activities that I have on the side with content creating and wrestling and training and all those things that when I do try to take a break, like during the holiday seasons where I know that my routine's going to get thrown a little bit about and be disrupted. So I have to kind of accept that. And I think I've gotten better at it. So I know what to expect. This year was the first year where I was like expecting this quote unquote anxiety to
I
come.
see.
And when I
I see.
started feeling it, I was more equipped. I felt more equipped to manage this anxiety this year, and which is representative of the growth I think I've made in the just the last 12 months. And I'm able to go, oh, okay, I feel a lot better. I've been able to not be so nervous, not be so anxious during this time, especially when we went away. Like going away for me is taking a vacation for me is like, ugh, like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
know it sounds weird, but for me it's like we're going on vacation. That means for a whole 4 days, I'm not going to be doing anything.
Yep.
Like sitting on this, like we went to this beautiful chalet. It had, nice furniture inside, the comfiest couches, the comfiest beds. There was a fire pit outside. Like there was a jacuzzi in the back. Like, and all I could think of is I woke up in the morning, would put my running shoes on and try to get a workout, try to get a run in because I was outside in nature. I was right next to a mountain. I was going up everywhere. I wanted to experience that.
Yes.
I was excited about that. And then I would come home and go like, well, I don't have any work to do. And then I would be like, and then I would have this sense of guilt, like not. I'd be sitting on the couch, either watching a documentary or just watching TV or just sitting outside next to the fire, and I'd be like, I should be. I feel like I should be doing something right now because I'm so used to on. It's Thursday, it's Wednesday, it's Tuesday. At this time I'm working, and then I'm going to the gym. I'm so into this routine, but I think it's important to sometimes realize that in order to be able to do all those things for 80% of the year, that the 10, 15, 20% of the time where you need to quote unquote recover is very important. And I think there's a way to manage that portion where it doesn't feel like you're wasting valuable time. And I think by taken an opportunity of self-reflection when you are not doing, when you are away from your routine, when you are quote unquote on vacation, by maybe taking your mornings or maybe just, for me, it's 30 minutes, 20 minutes, just sitting down, self-reflecting on where I'm at, everything I've accomplished in the last 12, 24 months or whatever the case may be since I last had a real break, and then just kind of assess like, okay, I've done all these things. What's next? And then being able to move forward without having to worry so much about the things that I didn't get to do, but now just kind of moving forward, kind of cleaning up all the residue of everything that I've done and kind of cleaned up in my life, and then kind of move forward from that. And this year was I tried to do that. I really made an effort so that when I'm back into my routine, like right now, as of Monday, I'm back into going back to work full time, gym, working out, all this stuff. I'm able to feel better about feeling better about moving forward because I'm not so cluttered up in my head, you know. I kind of worked out all my shit, and instead of keeping everything out there and trying to do my best every single day, then I'm really content with that. And I think it's important that at the end of the day, if you can sit down, reflect for 5 minutes and say, did I do my best today? And if the answer is yes, to be happy about that and not be so critical about the things that you didn't get to do, and maybe focus more on the things that you actually ended up doing, even if they were a very small thing, as long as they were in the effort of improvement. And I think that's also a big thing that I'm going to try to do more of this year, is to really reflect on the things that I am doing instead of the things that I haven't done yet.
That's a nice perspective. Because if you look at it from that perspective, then it's a more positive outlook, right?
Right.
But I have two questions for you though.
Yes.
Because you said you're expecting anxiety, like you learned to expect it.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you, is maybe have you learned to embrace it? Is that also a thing? Like, have you started embracing, because you're expecting it, but have you started embracing the?
I wouldn't say embracing it, because then that means I am waiting in anticipation. I'm not embracing it, meaning I'm not welcoming it. I really don't know what I would do if it never came. Hopefully I'll get to a point in my life where it won't come, where the holiday season will just be what it is without that sense of maybe expectation. I think it's more of fun. It's happened it's so repetitive, and around the same time that it's like my body is programmed that way, where it's like, oh, we haven't felt this for 11 months. Normally at this time of year, we get it. So I like to sit there sometimes and go like, what is this? Because sometimes I get feelings where I'm like, I get triggered by something, and normally it triggers an anxiety in me. That's my reaction to almost everything that's not right, is a sense of anxiety. And I think I've learned to realize that my anxiety is kind of an instinct. That's how I've been seeing it now more and more. It's like maybe my anxiety is necessary because of the roles that I have in this life right now. Meaning, what do I mean by that? Well, I'm a father, I'm a husband, and as a father, I am a protector. I want my kids to be protected, to feel love, and all those different things. And I have a responsibility.
Yes.
And sometimes I take that, not sometimes, I take that responsibility extremely seriously. So that quote unquote anxiety that I feel a lot of the times, I think it's more of a decision that I made. I've decided that I see it more as kind of sometimes it's just anxiety, but sometimes I feel like it's more like I'm going to see it as an instinct to prepare myself for all the different possibilities, from the worst possible outcome to the best possible outcome. Now, my issue in the past was that I would solely just focus on the worst possible outcome. Yeah. So that would bring out an anxiety in me that was filled with nervous energy, filled with bad feelings, negative feelings. But I've tried to teach myself in recent years to try to see not just the worst possible outcome, but also the best possible outcome. And that doesn't mean that when I see the best possible outcome and I try to predict or try to prepare for those outcomes, I'm also trying to prepare for the best possible outcome. If I'm going into something that is not familiar, where I used to go worst possible outcome, kids get sick, kids get hurt, something happens, we have to go here, we have like all the worst possible outcomes. There's also within the same spectrum, there's the best possible outcome of that situation. And that best possible outcome can also bring forth some quote unquote anxiety, because there might be also some preparation, some things that we're not used to in the best possible outcome. So now when I feel this sense of anxiety, I try to stop myself from going straight to the worst possible outcome. And I'm also trying to see all the possible outcomes. And then when I pick the best possible outcome, then I try to focus my energy more on that best possible outcome, so that if there is an anxiety, at least it's a positive energy anxiety versus a negative, or a negative nervous energy anxiety. And maybe I'm not making sense there, but I feel like
But you are,
there's
you
a
are.
right.
Yeah, because it's what I like about what you said is that I feel like as a culture, we, because you mentioned positive outcome, and then you mentioned like positive anxiety, but I feel like as a culture, we are not used to think about those positive outcomes. Whenever you talk about a project or a goal or a job or whatever you do, the first thing people say or the first thing people will tell you is all the negative things or all the negative outcomes and possibilities that might
That's right.
happen with whatever you are telling them.
Especially if you're telling your dream, your idea
Yes.
to someone else, that
Yes.
person will always have an instinct to tell you all the reasons why it might not work, versus talking to someone like you that might tell me why it might work.
Yes.
Right? I think our society has been directed more towards the, well, I've never been able to do that, so here, let me tell you why you won't be able to do that.
Exactly. You know what the worst part about it is that it starts from the safest place, that's your home.
Right.
Our
They do
parents
the right.
are the first ones. Like when you're 5 years old and they ask you, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Right.
They'll give you all the space in the world to say whatever you want to say. But then comes a point in time where they'll ask you the same question again. That's probably when you're 10, 11, 12. And if you give them the same answer you gave them when you were 5, that's when that conversation starts. And then we start talking about the negative outcomes of, well, that won't be possible, but are you sure? And it's going to be hard. And you don't have this. And so if it starts from our parents, it's normal that us as humans, when we grow up, our mind goes towards those negative outcomes.
Right. Because we never had the support necessary at a young age.
Exactly. We never got the
Right.
support and the love or the communication that we needed, because one thing is to tell us, listen, these are the possibilities, right? You might not make it. Let's say, for example, let's say kids wants to go to professional major league player, right?
Right.
You're like, okay, cool. I can help you. But here's the reality of it. You might not make it. You might and you might not. But I'll do everything I can for you to make it. And I want you to think about that outcome.
Right.
Right? There's still the possibility of you not making it. But let's not focus on that. Let's focus on the possibility of you making it and that outcome. And so that's a different perspective from the get-go, because you're aware of reality of things. You might or you might not. But regardless, now your focus shifted from it's not going to be possible to, hey, I need to work at it and I'll do everything I can to make it possible. And if it doesn't become possible after I've done everything I could, then be it. Versus what we go through now is, it's never going to happen, so I'm not going to do it. And then you sit and you wait and you wait. And you're 10 years, 15 years in, and you still have that same thought, that same dream. And you're not acting upon it because you're still thinking about when you were 10, 11, and
Yeah.
they told you, oh no, but it's too dangerous. You need to get a degree and get a job because
Right.
you might not. So it's an
And I
interesting
think
dynamic.
I think parents do it not out of malicious intent.
Nope.
I think they want to protect their kids. I know it's like that for a lot of parents. I was a
course.
parent. It's hard when your kid tells you this humongous dream and you're more smart to it than they are. You're more experienced. You have more life experience. You understand what is required to accomplish those dreams. They might
Exactly.
not. As a parent myself, I've done both, where it's like, that's a crazy ass dream. Like the chances of you succeeding at this are less than 1%. So maybe focus your energy on something that has a more than 50% chance of success. But then again, look at me. Like, I achieved crazy ass dreams that I had when I was 7 and becoming a professional wrestler. Again,
Exactly.
I tell this all the time. The vision I had when I was 7 was to work for the WF. I never worked for the WWF, but I never knew that there was a different
Yeah.
path to just being a wrestler. I got to experience that different path on the independent circuit and living where I lived here in Montreal and having access to all those things, going to a wrestling school, becoming a wrestler, realizing that dream of that 7-year-old boy. Same thing with becoming a martial arts fighter. Might have never made it pro, but I got to experience what I wanted to experience. I wanted that experience of fighting and being locked in a cage or being put in a ring or on a mat and competing like if I'm competing for my life. A 7-year-old boy that watched all these movies and wanted to be this fighter when he grew up and wrestler I got to experience that, which is weird when I talk about it because it was never really what the vision was. When you're a kid, you see those people on TV, you go, I'm going to be on TV one day, never realizing that you might be able to achieve your goals, a similar goal or that goal without ever being on TV or without ever be working for that company or ever being in these movies and all those different paths. But I believe that our parents never did it out of malicious intent. All they want to do was protect you. That's their first and foremost job and instinct, is to physically protect you, but also emotionally protect you. I do not believe in that anymore because I wish that I had gone through the hard shit at a younger age and not tried to protect myself as much because I was so protected, quote unquote, at a young age from, like you said, like we're all told the same thing. As a parent now, I try to go, listen, what's your goal? What's your dream? I will be here to do you as long as all I ask from my kid is you do the absolute maximum that you can give me. I will give you the rest. I will try my best to cover the rest. And if I can't cover the rest, then we'll figure it out. I do not discourage my kids from anything. If they want to be a major league baseball player, college baseball player, I will do everything in my power, spend every money I have, cent I have to support them to try to make their dreams happen. Because I wish that I had that when I was a kid. Again, I ain't throwing shade. My mom did the best she
Exactly.
could with what she had. I'm not throwing any shade. I'm very grateful for the path that I've gone through. And I've also gotten a part of my life where the way my life turned out, everything I've gone through, I've accepted. And I believe that that's the path that I was put on this planet to live so that I can be an example for someone else. Either
Exactly.
it be my son, my daughter, or anybody else that listens to this that I've come in contact with. That's the goal, is to try to inspire others to chase their dreams. Like I like to say, like, I'm not just a dream chaser, I'm a dream achiever. And I want to help other people. I want to inspire others to not only chase their dreams, but achieve their dreams, you know? And I think we all have these dreams locked inside, and we got to a point where we just thought they would never be possible because they were so grandiose and stuff. And I never want especially my kids, but I want people to live, even if it's just once in their lives. I want people to experience what it is to accomplish a childhood dream, to accomplish something that took a long time, a lot of hard work, dedications, blood, sweat, and tears to accomplish. The sad thing is that the majority of people in today's society will never ever experience that. And I think that if they did, it would make a big difference as how they would live their life forward and how they would experience life going forward.
That's very beautiful what you said because I'm pretty sure you can relate with what I'm about to say, but when you mention like achieving your dreams and your goals, I remember my first wrestling match like it was yesterday. And you know what? I don't remember half of the match, but I remember the emotions and the feelings that I had of I'm like, yo, I did this. I could not sleep for the entire night.
Right.
I was laying on my bed. with a smile all the way across my ears. And I was just looking at the room. I'm like, yo, I was looking at the ceiling. I'm like, man, I did it. I did it, you know? And that gave me the confidence to even start, you know, pursuing other avenues.
Right.
But you said something interesting about, you know, you wanted to wrestle for WWF when you were a kid, but
Mm-hmm.
you went through independent circuit in Montreal. Is that if you do not try, you will never know the different avenues and possibilities that are out there.
Right.
Because in your mind at 7 years old, there's only WWF. But you're not aware of the independent scene or the territories that were back in the days. So if your focus is solely on, for example, that WWF and you don't even give it a try, you're not going to be aware of what's around. Because maybe, let's say, wrestling is what you want to do, but maybe, let's say, wrestling is not cut for you. But it might lead you into manager, referee, or producer, or be a
Right.
part of, right? Or even when we spoke about making it as a professional athlete, you might not make it to the MLB, NBA, NFL, NHL, but there's other world leagues you can play
Right.
internationally, Europe, Japan, Africa, right? And guess what? If you don't make it as a player, maybe there's an opening for you as a coach, as a trainer, as an assistant. Like, you're opening opportunities because, you know, your dream is MLB. Let's say your dream NBA. But it doesn't mean that life, just because you don't make it in the way that you wanted to make, doesn't mean that you didn't make it.
Right.
Let's say you wanted to be a player, but you never made it as a
Absolutely.
player, but you made it as an assistant. You are in the MLB. You are an assistant coach. That means you are one of the elite baseball coaches in the world. You made it. Just
You're
not-
still part of the game, just not in the way you wanted it to be.
Yes.
That you envision what you wanted it to be.
Yes, and that's the
Right.
beauty of life, is that life will put you in that position, like, hey, I gave you what you wanted, just not the way you asked for it. But this is still what you wanted.
I think the universe has a funny way. I think the dream of becoming the like, for example, I'll use becoming a wrestler for example. I believe the dream has to be you on TV on Monday Night Raw fighting Seth Rollins, fighting whoever, name big time wrestler that you grew up with. The dream has to be that.
Yes.
The dream cannot be I'm going to make it as a jobber.
No.
The dream cannot be I'm going to make it on the independent circuit and be the dream has to be the absolute pinnacle of the industry. And if you fall anywhere in between the pinnacle and whatever the opposite of the pinnacle is, the bottom, but your role might not be, your faith, your destiny might not be to be the pinnacle of that role. It might just be something related to this. Like you said, it might be as a referee. It might be as a producer. It might be as name the position. That there's so much different jobs and different roles within the business of professional wrestling. Same thing goes for being an athlete, being a baseball player, basketball player, football player. Your goal should always be the pinnacle, be in the NFL, be in the major leagues, be in the NBA, play for the Warriors, for the Steelers, for the Dodgers, all of that,
Exactly.
right? If you aim for the stars, you might land, you know what I mean? Like that old saying, like you gotta aim for the moon. You gotta aim for the moon. You might end up in the stars, but at least you end up somewhere way above where you are right now. And at the end of the day, also what people have a hard time with, you might end up doing something that has nothing to do with what you were aiming for. You might aim to be a Major League Baseball player and end up doing something completely different. But the journey of giving it everything you got for 12, 15 years, from the age of 4 to the age of 18, to trying to make it as a professional, that journey might bring you into becoming a pastor of a church, a minister, or a CEO of your own company, or a president of your own company. But the journey, the hard work, the dedication, the commitment to one thing, working hard at something, will give you tools along the way that might bring you to what your gift was eventually meant to be, your gift that I think we're all born with, and our purpose. You might discover your purpose along the way of chasing this dream. And I think that's the importance of chasing your dreams, because it's hard to achieve the dreams. Are the seven. I wish people would just sit down and go, what did I dream to become when I was 7, 8, 9 years old? And to work towards that. You know it's going to be hard, but the hard work brings out things in you that you never knew you had, a strength, an inner strength maybe, that you never knew you could do, something you never thought you were capable of achieving. And when you achieve these shit, it opens up doors in your mind, doors in the physical world, and then opportunities just show up out of the blue, and you're like, I can't believe I got this opportunity. And well, guess what? I've been working on my skill set, and I've been working on my mindset, and now I got an opportunity. I fucking need to take this opportunity. How many times there was opportunities that showed up at your door and you fucking thought you weren't ready and you said no to that opportunity, and then years later you're like, fuck.
Yep.
Man, I should have not closed that door, because that could have brought me into a completely different. And then you could sit back and regret it, or you could sit back and go, well, maybe that's what it was meant to be.
Man, and it's funny you say that, because a story comes to mind, man. If you don't mind me sharing, me and the guys, so Mike, Corsi, myself, and Jessica Black, we went to this tryout in New York. So I don't know if you know Amazing Red.
Yeah, I've heard of him. Yeah.
Okay. So he has this wrestling promotion called House of Glory back in New York. So
Yes.
we went to New York for a tryout for this Japanese promotion called Marvelous Puroresu, which is female based in Japan, but they were doing mixed shows in the States.
Oh, I remember that. That's at the beginning that I started at Torture Chamber.
Yes, I remember. Yes, you were there at that time. And because it made me, what you said right now about the regret, right? It made me think about that story, because after the tryout, unfortunately, we didn't manage. Like, Jessica got on the show, but she managed to get on the show because one of the other girls was injured. Backstage politics made it so that we were not on the, like, we were originally not on the show.
Right.
But then at the end, Amazing Red came up to us, to all four of us, and he said, here's my personal email. Message me. If you guys want to come over, I can hook you guys up with the gym, like, for a weekend. You guys can come over like once a month or something like that. We can work something out. And you guys train with me here. He only did that to us four from Canada, from Montreal. We had Amazing Red's personal email. We had an opportunity to go train in the States every month or so. And then, it would start off with being booked on his shows. And then from there, open up the American independent scene.
Right.
But we never went through. I've never went through. And till this day, I would say that's one of my biggest regrets, because that was the closest door I had. Not the closest door I had, but that was the second opportunity. It's like, before Amazing Red and the Marvelous Puroresu tryout, I had a trial with ROH. But I was younger. Like, I wasn't mentally there yet. And, I could have went to ROH, but I didn't get an open invitation. They just told me, yeah, if you want to come through, you can.
Right.
But to have this guy, former X Division champion, come up to you and be like, yo, I want you guys to reach out to me. And we did not go through with that. To think about the possibilities, and where my life could have been, regardless of the outcome.
Right.
For better or for worse, right? Because it could have been worse. But I did not act upon that opportunity, when now I wish I would have.
Again, the important thing that you mentioned is that you are unaware of the outcome, even if you had followed through on that invitation and followed through on pursuing this avenue through the wrestling business, right? You don't know what the outcome was. The same thing. I'll share a story very similar. I don't think I've shared it with anybody. So early on in my wrestling career, this was, I don't remember exactly when. I believe it was definitely before COVID. I was online somewhere and I saw this thing. I think it was a Facebook post or an Instagram post. I forget. But you know who Roderick Strong is? Mm-hmm. Right? So I believe he has this promotion, or he's involved in this promotion called, I want to say Revolution. I forget what it was. I can remember the poster, but they were having open tryouts in Florida. And it was in a week from when I saw the post, but they were still openings. All you had to do was send out an email if you were interested. And it's the type of thing where you see the guys on the poster of the tryouts, and you're like, wow, all the guys that I know that I've seen either on NXT or that are very popular in the independent circuit, you know. And I go, wow, that's a crazy, like, and then just kind of browse through, like, I have no chance. Why would I ever? But for some fucking reason, I just went, I was feeling good about myself. I guess that day I was feeling myself. I just took the email. I wrote the email just out of curiosity, and I sent out the email. Within 2 days, I got an answer back saying that there was a spot available for me if I wanted to. Right there and then, I was like, what? They're like, if you want, there's a spot available. This is the price that you pay for the tryout. If you can get yourself here, there's a spot for you. And it's that type of thing where, like, oh, wait a minute. If I go through with this, I have to book a plane ticket to leave on Thursday, where Tuesday. And so in 2 days, I have to pack, I have to take times off work, I have to go to Florida, book myself a hotel, do this tryout. I had no idea what to expect. And then it just became, this is impossible. There's no way I can make this happen. You know what I mean? What we spoke about earlier, instead of focusing on all the good outcomes, I was focusing on, you won't have time to book a hotel. Won't have time to book a flight. It's going to be too expensive. It's too last minute, this, that. And then I said, no way, sir. Now, I'm not saying I would have gone to that tryout. I was still green in my career. But Lord knows what doors that might have opened for me.
Of course.
Out of sheer luck or out of sheer determination, I might have been able to surprise people there, and then my life story from then on might have been completely different.
Of course.
Now, like you, it's easy to sit here. I don't think about that moment in my short period. I don't think about that experience, that regret. Even though at first I remember going like, I can't tell anybody about this. Like, people are going to think I'm crazy. I remember going, I think I told Mike, and he's like, are you fucking crazy? Like, and then I go like, yeah, but you guys, like, my life is different. I was trying to convince myself that I had made the right decision. You have kids at home. This is crazy. This is just too much. It's too late for you. You're too old. You're too this. And I'm like, you know how it goes, right?
Yeah.
And again, I sit here today, years later, and I could choose to regret that decision, or I could choose to see it as I needed to go through that moment. I needed to not follow through in that decision so that later on in life, when the similar opportunity shows up in the similar matter, I'll go, the last time I went through this and I said, this is too complicated, I ended up regretting it, or it might have, I feel like I should take this. And it's going to open my eyes to a different perspective, and maybe I'll be more focused on the best possible outcome of the situation versus the worst possible.
No, I agree with you, man. Everything happens for a reason. And, you know, as much as is a regret that I wish I could have done during my wrestling career, I don't dwell on it. You know, I think like, we have similar mindsets, so I just view it as a lesson as well. You know, I failed to be ready at that moment, and I know that when another opportunity comes, I will seize it. You know, and that's what I've been doing ever since that moment happened. You know, I've been seizing them, whether I think I'm ready or not.
Right.
You know, either I think I'm ready or not, or, you know, am I the man for the job, or imposter syndrome, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
I'm gonna seize it. You know, I'm gonna run with it, and whatever happens, happens. Right? And I'll either learn from it, grow from it, or I don't see any negative outcome from it. You know what I mean? Like, even if I stumble, even if I fall, even if I don't do a good job, at least I grew from this experience. And nothing compares to that growth. And I know that now. And just as much as you know it as well. But we needed those experiences in order for us to be able to talk about it right here, right now.
I think we needed to experience it to be able to know what we missed out on, and then learn from that thing. I think the most important thing you said right there was that in that moment, you had failed to prepare yourself for that moment. Meaning, and it is something I've harped on and I've repeated many times on social media and maybe to my kids and my wife. And it's something that I heard one day, and it kind of just, I it attached itself to my head, to my brain, was, if you work on your mindset, then you work on your skill set, then one day your opportunity will show up and you'll be ready. But if you don't work on your mindset first and a skill set that you think you are gifted or that you have a purpose in, one day your opportunity will come. And I think the important thing you said that is that in that moment, before that moment, you realized that you had failed yourself in preparation for that moment. But that was the opportunity, the thing that opened your eyes to go, in the future, I will be prepared when this opportunity shows up again. And it is now my responsibility to not fail myself in preparation, so that when that door opens again, I'll be ready to go through it instead of just closing it and moving on to a different door.
Exactly.
Right. I think
Life
that's the
lessons,
important.
man. Life
Yeah,
lessons.
it's a huge shift in my perspective in recent years, is that I see everything as a lesson, everything as an opportunity. And some people, they go like, I know you talk to some people sometimes and they don't see it like that. So when you tell someone that you see life, everyday life, as that you're constantly searching for signs pushing you in the right direction, things, meaning in things. I know certain things happen in your day-to-day life that you might think are not meaningful. But if you're able, more often than not, to take those small trivial things every day to life and see a reasoning why they're happening to you and why they're presented to you in this moment. It might be something as being stuck in traffic, being stuck behind someone that takes forever at the grocery store because they're asking a million questions or they have a million coupons and you're in a rush. Before, I would immediately get angry and go like, fuck, like I'm late, I'm already late and you're holding me back. And then I would get all anxious and angry, and then my mindset would completely shift, and then the next hour of my day would be ruined because all I could think of how I'm late and stuff. And now when those things happen, I force myself to go, well, maybe God wants me to relax right now. Maybe there's a reason why I'm stuck behind this person right now. It's because if I was out there driving home right now, maybe something would happen, or whatever the case may be. I try to put myself in that moment and go, if I'm here waiting, it's because I'm meant to be here waiting. And maybe it's a sign for me to slow down today and to just stop the overthinking, whatever the case may be. And if I view my life and search for reasoning in as many things as possible, it seems that I can focus on the positive out of everything instead of focusing on the negative. Because if you focus on the negative out of every little trivial task day to day, you'll be like, holy shit, like this can either happen to you for this reason, negative, or happen for you for this reason, positive. And if you try to spend more time in the positive than in the negative, then I think you'll realize quickly that one great day turns into 2, turns into 5, turns into 6 months. And then the self-growth, exponentially grows larger versus to minimal improvements versus abundance and improvement.
Yeah, because it compounds, you know.
Right.
I feel like you mentioned the waiting in line at grocery and all that stuff, right?
Right.
I read this once and I found it really interesting. It said when you ask for patience, you don't get patience. You're put in situations where you have to either you have to practice your patience, right?
Right.
If you ask, for courage, you're not given courage. You're put in a position where
Right.
you have to be courageous. And
Right.
I feel maybe that might be it sometimes for a lot of people. We ask a lot of things out of life. And I feel life puts us in these positions and situations, and we think that they're trivial, but they're not. It's okay. This is what you've been asking. Let's keep with this grocery store example. You've been asking for patience, right? You've been, that's one of your things you want to work on. And now you're at the grocery store waiting in line with somebody with 100 coupons. How are you going to react to that situation? This is you being put in a situation where, are you going to practice your patience? That's what you want. This is what I'm giving you. I'm giving you the opportunity to practice patience. Not to be patient, but to practice patience, to practice being courageous, loving,
Right.
powerful, strong, to practice these things that you want to become.
Life will never give you what you're asked for. That's absolutely right. It'll give you only opportunities for you to be those things, to be courageous, be patient, be more kind, be more loving, be more respectful, be all those things. And people, I think, don't think about it that in depth enough where they're like, fuck. They immediately let that evil thought, that negative thought, capture them and then guide them and control them. And that breaking that chain of control through that negative emotion versus realizing that, hey, dude, I've been asking for this. I've been asking for more patience. I've been praying to God every day, God, give me more patience. And now God has put me in a position to express patience, to be patient. And now all I can do is bitch about how I'm late and I can't, how the instinct is immediately to be impatient and not be patient. And then 5 minutes later, I'm like, man, I wish I had more patience. Like, man, dude, you had an opportunity to be patient right there and you didn't take it. Yeah. It's like a muscle. It's a skill. It's a virtue. In order to get better at a skill, you need to practice said skill. Well, guess what? Being patient, being kind, being loving, these are all skills. And the only way you can get better at them is by practicing them. And if you are put in situations, then you should be grateful to be put in that situation so that you can practice on being patient, that you can practice on being kind, being loving, being this, being that. It's the same thing in becoming a baseball player, basketball player, better wrestler. You have to practice. And if the universe doesn't present you with opportunities, then you should make your own opportunities to help. That's why, I do hard shit sometimes, because sometimes life doesn't present me with hard shit. So I put myself in hard situations because I need to work on certain skills. I need to work on my skill in overcoming adversity and sharpening my tool set,
But and here's the beauty of what you just said, is that you are putting yourself out there, right? So you're purposely putting yourself in a position to grow.
Right.
You're putting yourself in a position to be uncomfortable. And that's where you are different from what other people might not be doing. You know what I mean? Right? Because a lot of people might be like, forget it. I'm not gonna do more than what I should. And not to say that it's not a bad thing. It's okay. If you want to do just the bare minimum, that's okay. But do not expect more out of life.
Right.
Than the bare minimum, right? If you want to be a better parent or brother, spouse, or whatever the case may be, you will be put to the test. And it's not going to be comfortable.
Right.
And it's not going to be fun. You're going to have friction. You're going to have fights. You might yell. You might cry. You might insult each other. You might be mad. But this is what is needed if this is what you're asking.
Right.
Right? So I feel like it's an important thing to put yourself out there in those situations, because it will only make things better for you and for them. It's inevitable growth. That's
right.
how I see it.
That's a great, beautiful thing to end it. You need to, in order to grow, you need to really just put yourself in that uncomfortable part of life, and then you kind of have to work your way out. It's like you got to get yourself out of that comfort zone. And then you have, once you're outside, I see it like this. The comfort zone starts off as a small circle. And then I step outside of that circle and I spend time outside of that circle. And then the circle then becomes bigger. And then I'm like, wait a minute. This used to be uncomfortable, but now I'm comfortable here.
Of course.
Guess what? Let's go a little further. Oh, now I'm not comfortable anymore. Guess what? I was telling this to my father, and what may we'll end this here because it's already 55 minutes there. But
Good, man.
my father-in-law is retired. He's in his 70s. He's gone through a lot of health problems, and I love the man, and I'll do anything to help him. But I'm not the type of guy to push anybody into uncomfortable situations that on. I'll give you the information, and you do whatever you do with that. But I'll give it to you from my perspective, from my experience, and then I will encourage you and tell you why I believe it's an important thing for you in that. And I've been telling him for the last little bit that we've all been telling him, me, my wife, his whole family, maybe you should think about moving because you're complaining that your legs hurt and all these health problems and stuff. And then today we're sitting at breakfast and we had that conversation, and he was very open. And he even to the point where he said, you know what, I'm considering joining the gym with you guys. And now he's considering, him and his wife, they're considering coming to the gym with us at least once a week. And I was right. And in my head, I could see how happy it made my wife when he just said that he would consider, when he asked her to check with the gym what the membership fee is, like, let me know what it is and if I could. And in my head, the whole thing I kept thinking, I planted this seed years ago. And it took years of me being just an example, barely opening my mouth, just being who I am. And when people asked me questions, I was honest and I gave my opinion. But I would rarely jump forth and come like, here's what I think you should do. I was always, if you need help, I'll give you my perspective from someone that has a lot of experience in fitness and nutrition and all of this. And people know this about me and they come to me now and I tell them. But I was never pushy about it. And I planted a seed years ago, and it took years for that seed to start growing. And now I'm reaping a reward of a seed that I might have planted years ago in the shift of how I was doing things. And it gave me the sense of different feelings. Number one, be patient. You might plant a seed that might take weeks to reap reward or years. This example was years. Same thing with my wife. We've been together for so long, and just recently has she been consistent with coming to the gym with me. People are like, I don't understand how your wife can live with someone like you and also not be going to the gym. I said, because I never pushed her, because I knew how much uncomfortable it was for her to go to the gym. That's not her jam. I was a person, after years and years and years of me trying to make her understand how important it is, and her finally going, now I'm starting to realize, because I'm seeing my father, I'm seeing people in my life that are older, and I see how the lack of physical fitness is affecting them in life. She doesn't want to go through that. So now it's opening her eyes. Again, a seed that I planted, not for millions of people on Instagram, but for my immediate circle, my immediate family. That reaps, and then that grows. And because my wife now goes to the gym, her parents are thinking about it, her sister, her friends, and then it grows from there. The ripple effect, I can only be worried about the first ripples, the ripples that I can see. I cannot worry about the rest of the ripples that those people are going to put forth in life. My only focus, make sure that your ripples are as positive and inspiring as possible, so that the immediate people that get hit with your ripples, your kids, your wife, then can go out in the world and have a similar effect to their immediate group of friends / coworkers / whatever. And I think if we started seeing life in that perspective, where we absolutely did our best for our little ripples, then the world would benefit greater, because we wouldn't be so worried about having an effect on 1,000 people. All we would need to focus on having a little ripple effect, positive effect on our little circle of people, so that they can bring forth that same energy going forward.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man. I could have not said it any better, man. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing, man.
Beautiful. God, I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you taking time out of
Man, I
your
appreciate you,
week
man.
to have these conversations. Again, we're going to keep doing this. And at every opportunity we have, we're going to keep doing this. And we're going to get better at this. I'm going to get better at the intro now that I'm going to work on it better. You know, what's funny is that I just realized like 30 minutes before I started recording, I'm like, oh, I had put down that I was going to work on the intro, and then I completely lost track of time. And then I was like, oh, fuck, I didn't write an intro. And so then as I was driving to the grocery store right before, I was speaking to myself in the car. I was like, okay. So I was trying to come up with the intro, and then I completely forgot it when I started logging on because I had different things on my mind. Again, we're doing this so we can get better at this, so we can move forward and stuff. So if you are still listening an hour into this or whatever, how long this has been in the conversation, I appreciate you still listening. For all the subscribers to the channel, I appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed yet, SVGTV on YouTube, Savage Paulson on Instagram, Bro Tigger. Well, how is it, bro? I can never. What is your thing? It's like
it's Brother Tiger,
Brother Tiger,
but it's the number 0
right
instead of the letter.
You know, sometimes you see like, because I know you and I never call you by your handle, right? I just go as like, yo, this is my brother Gabriel, and then I go, what's his Instagram handle? I'm like, it's BR0. That's all I type. Every time I have to look in, I don't look what the name is. I know it's BR0. Then his name shows up. Then I click on his profile. Then I look at his shit or I message him. I'm such a doofus sometimes, but that's all right, bro.
It's all good, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me, and I'm looking forward for our next talk, man. Really
I love you very much, brother, and I appreciate you.
Love you too, man.
All right, brother. Till next time. Cheers.